So this is why you always hear me say this is never about blaming and shaming yourself or ourselves, right? Manifestation is opening our eyes to the knowledge that the people that we interact with or intermingle with are always ever reflecting our beliefs. Can they reflect our absolute word for word thought? Well, sure. I know I've experienced that. However, they're really just reflecting our beliefs. But there are those moments when, like, my boyfriend has definitely like repeated what something I may have scripted, affirmed, or you know how I say deciding. He has literally said exact affirmations back to me, not knowing that they were one of my affirmations. So when we experience something like being lied to, being hurt, by anyone in life, but most importantly, when it is someone we probably love, because I am assuming that troubled soul is talking about his specific person, but really this can be applied to anyone we love. This could be family members, besties, things like that. So when we have that experience, if we didn't know about manifestation, we would acknowledge that has hurt our feelings. It has, breached the what I would say, like, breached the contract of a relationship, right? When someone does something like that to us, it can also be heartbreaking. And so if we didn't know about manifestation, it would just be accepted that of course you have the right to feel that way. But because we are in the awareness of why we experience what we experience, this is the moment that we want to, okay, take a step back. Again, we have the right to feel what we feel. But once our emotions are out over what we're upset over, we want to remind ourselves of who we really are. Why? So that we can prevent, or then, if needed, change any story from being created, if there isn't one already. That's why I said if needed to change in the so-called future, right? Because everything's happening now. And what I mean by that is, okay, so say this was the first time you were lied to by your specific person, okay? So this is the first time they've lied to you. They've broken that trust. If it's the first time you've had the experience with this specific person, we want to prevent a story from starting so that we don't begin to brace for impact that they're going to do it again. Because our conditioning, right, our human 3D world, muggle conditioning is to expect that person to do it again, right? Aren't we all kind of conditioned about that? Maybe not every single person on the planet is, but most of us are. There's a fear that it's going to happen again. So because we're awake, we want to prevent that. Now, in case this is not the first time you've experienced it, you want to ask yourself, straight up, why? There you go. A story has been created because it has happened so many times. Okay. So why am I experiencing this? Why am I experiencing this? Why is this happening? Why am I having the experience of this specific person lying to me? Again, we don't blame ourselves because this is what's manifested or what has shown up in our world. We remind ourselves instead that we are pure, unadulterated consciousness. That's who we are, choosing to step into the individual form of, in my case, Kimberly. So you're choosing that form, and from there, you're choosing a version of yourself. Another way of saying version of self is state of consciousness, right? And whatever state we choose, it's also like saying that's the reality we choose. So why is this happening? Your initial thought might be, I don't fucking know. I don't know. Do we have a belief that we can be lied to? Or relationships hurt, love hurts. I expect to be abandoned, right? I'm just throwing ideas at you. I'm not saying you have all these limited beliefs. Do we expect the person that we have a love relationship with to let us down, to disappoint us? Why do we expect that? See, here's the thing we do is we start asking ourselves questions like this. As we keep poking at ourselves with the questions, it's allowing us to break it down to the belief. So we can grab that belief, snatch it, and throw it out the window and decide we don't have it anymore. And yes, we can simply decide we don't have it anymore. That's not everybody's opinion about manifesting. It's not everybody's opinion, but it's a choice. It is a choice because of who we are. Okay? So, what are your beliefs about love? We already know just because you've experienced it more than once, automatically, we must have a story about our person. Automatically. That goes without saying. And why am I saying that so confidently? Because remember, what we believe about our specific person is tied to who we believe we are. Because, this is one of the things that I think people mess up. Who you believe you are is 1,000,000% your beliefs about life in general, your beliefs about, and I mean generalized beliefs, I should have said that, generalized belief about that. Your generalized belief about life in general, your generalized beliefs about love and relationships, your specific beliefs about your person, and generalized beliefs around, if your SP is a female, so then generalized beliefs about females, right? So think of all that as ingredients that are thrown in a mixing bowl and put all together. And that's how we experience things in our reality. So we already know, we got that story. So how to let go of the story? By moving your awareness. Simply move your awareness. I know it doesn't always feel simple. It doesn't. Because our 3D human selves are conditioned to function a little bit differently. We are conditioned to look at our 3D world and look at our experiences and listen or feel or see what our senses are telling us. We take that information. This is what we are conditioned to do. We take all of that information, and from there, we then make decisions. We then choose what we're going to believe. We usually believe everything we're experiencing in the 3D is golden. And what we're experiencing is based off the beliefs we have that came from the conditioning from the moment we got on this planet. And I'm not trying to imply that it's all your parents' fault or things like that, right? It's nobody's fault. Everybody here is conditioned. Everything we know, everything we think is from conditioning. Everything, literally everything. So we move our awareness, we automatically leave the reality where we're experiencing the things we don't want to experience, and we go to that reality. I always point this way. So who are you aware of being? What do you believe about your specific person? What do you expect from your specific person? What do you expect from love? Who have you been identifying as? How you move your awareness is first of all, it's using your own manifestation techniques, whatever ones feel good. I find it easy to just decide. And even if you're saying that out loud, I am new self. I am the version of myself that's in a loving, fulfilling, committed relationship with the most amazing version of my specific person. That's what I say. And I tell myself that every day. At this point in my life, I actually just say I am new self. I no longer say a long-winded anything. I am new self. But this is why I suggest defining who new self is. So you know who you're choosing, who you're being aware of. What we keep our awareness on is what we experience in the 3D period. It can feel difficult to move your awareness, especially if you're in pain. But you're feeling that way out of habit. Habit or habitual responses to our senses and to our experiences in the 3D. It's all it is. And all you're really doing is breaking that habit. So you're breaking the habit of being old self. So if we want that old story to end, it's an open, outright decision. I'm choosing to believe that she's no longer the lying, distrustful bag of shit that she's been. I am choosing that. I'm choosing to believe that I am bringing in, the most loving, I'm trying to think what a better word, honest version of herself. That's all you really need to do is just move your awareness. This is why I say it is so important to be in this, in trouble soul. I'm not saying that you're not being this thing, but this is why it's important to be authentic to yourself. Be authentic to what you're really thinking in your mind, even the fears, even what fears are happening. Own them and choose differently, because thoughts are just thought vehicles to other realities or to other versions of yourself. That's all they are. They're not automatic truth just because they pop up in your mind. So, who are you aware of being? And my advice would be to start identifying as the version of yourself who is in the most loving, fulfilling, committed relationship with the most honest, loving, committed version of your specific person. Because that exists. That version of your person exists. Everyone's true nature is unconditional love. That's pure, unadulterated consciousness. And every one of us is that. We've just been in a habit of being a version of ourselves that believes in our limits, that we don't have the limits. We're not even these forms we're in. And I know that sounds weird. It sounded weird to me too. I hope that helps.